It's been well established on this channel that unless it's acrylic ink, I pretty much don't use acrylics, but I decided to push myself in today's video as I answer a question a lot of people have been asking. Are Golden High Flows actually worth it, and do they make good acrylic ink? Let's go ahead and find out, so let's roll that awesome intro. What's up guys, I'm J-Rod of BATTLEBRAWLERproductions, and welcome to the channel if you're new here. If you're not, you know the stick. In case you don't, we love to craft traditional comic book style illustrations through the medium of ink. So I'm going to be looking at a bunch of different inks to see if they will fit your comic book needs. And today we're taking a look at our first Golden product. Now if you guys have never heard of Golden, I have to say, where have you been? Golden is practically the gold standard when it comes to acrylic paint, both with variety and colors. They have more colors than practically any other manufacturer of acrylic paint, having a truly impressive amount of colors. They also have tons of different paint styles and options. Heavy bodies for traditional paint, soft bodies known as Golden Flows, Golden Opens which have a built-in retardant so they dry even slower, So Flats that dry completely matte, and an infinite amount of gessos, varnishes, pastes, gels, mediums, you name it, they have it, and it is insane the variety that Golden has. But today we are taking a look at the Golden High Flow specifically, as this is meant to be a competitor to not only FW but also Amsterdam. So I'm very excited to see how this is going to compare to two of my favorite acrylic inks. Taking a super quick look at the packaging itself, it's really meant to be an acrylic paint that you can use as an ink opposed to an acrylic ink. As you can see with traditional acrylic inks, they are designed more in the ink style of an ink well, while this is more painting-like. And on top you can see what you can use this for: airbrush, brush, dip pen, and paint markers. And something that I have to give credit to them, instead of just printing the color, that's an actual swatch. You can feel the brush strokes. That is amazing. Now this is a Series 1 Carbon Black, which sells for $7.25 for 1 fluid ounce, which I think is a really good deal, and they do have other series as well. So I believe they go up to Series 8, which can cost you anywhere from $30 to $32 depending on where you go. But this is a Series 1, so it's a very affordable color, Carbon Black, absolutely love it. And something that's really interesting, unique, just has this little squeeze bottle that you can rotate and pour your paint out. So very excited to give this a try. Golden is something that I hear constantly about. Many of my coworkers at my job talk very highly about them. Many of their painters use them and talk very highly about them. I have never used them. Acrylics have always been my weakness, especially studying them in college, but I'm so excited to give this acrylic a try because it is far more on the ink side, and you guys know me, inks are my jam. So let's go ahead and break out our sketchbook. I like that. It is smooth on paper, but the ink itself, I don't know if you can really see it here, it's a little difficult, it's kind of more something you can feel, is that it definitely feels thicker than most of the acrylic inks I've tried before. Nothing too crazy, it's just something I've noticed because I use a lot of ink, so I can really kind of tell and play with and kind of feel the thickness of different inks. But I really like it. For one, it's a really good solid black. It feels really nice to apply on paper. Acrylic inks have always just been super smooth, and I love it. They're very rarely scratchy, which is really nice. One thing you could kind of tell with what I'm doing here is because it's thicker, I kind of feel like it's not going to give me as many lines as I normally would. Like I won't be able to illustrate as much as I can between my dips, so that's interesting. But it flows beautifully, absolutely beautifully off of this, really giving me that Amsterdam and that FW feel to it. Just a little thicker than those, but I really like this. I want to see how this is going to work with my quill nib and with a brush. We're not going to test it with an airbrush, and I'm not going to test it with some paint markers. One thing that is really actually cool about this, that it showed it not on the packaging but on the display of this, is that you can actually just open this up and draw with this nib. So you could just squeeze it and just kind of draw like that with it. I'm not going to test it. I don't have a need for that in the illustration, but that's kind of cool actually. Hold up, we'll do it real quick. Okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. Like, what the heck? That's actually awesome. That is really cool. Okay, I said I wasn't going to use this in the illustration. I'm still not going to because I like cleaner, more controlled lines, but if you're a graffiti artist or you're doing something more loose, more cartoony, this would be an amazing feature. That's really cool. I actually really like that. I'm glad we tested it. Let's go ahead and see how it works with a brush and with our quill nib. And just a fun fact for you, because I know someone's going to ask, because this is an acrylic-based ink, it is going to stain the nibs more than other inks. It's also not going to be alcohol marker proof. Acrylics and alcohol repel, so just keep that in mind. And then one more thing is that these inks are water resistant, however they are prone to chippage. I would classify them personally as more water resistant, but that's just me. So let's go ahead and test our quill nib right here. Really curious to see, since it's thicker, are we going to get any issues with our dips? For some reason, it's just not working. That makes sense. It is thicker than most acrylic inks, so okay, totally makes sense to me. A little disappointing because I really like to have a lot of fine cross-hatching and detail work in my art. That's fine. I can just do it with a normal dip pen. It'll just be a little more difficult. Just have to use a little more pressure control to get those thinner lines. But that stinks. I'm gonna try it one more time. I know my quill nib's good. It is perfectly fine, so I'll try just one more. There we go. Yes. Finally got some lines already. Okay, this is cool. So I would say just be very careful dipping. Just do a very minimum dip to get the flow right. And even then you can see we're not getting a lot of lines right off the bat. But hey, it's working. That's good. I like to use quill nibs for my fine detail work, especially for my cross hatching. Not getting a lot of lines between dips. Let's go ahead and try it with a brush. Now, normally with acrylics, you want to use an acrylic brush because you want something that's not going to hold on to the water because you don't want to dry out the paint. With acrylic ink, you still want to use a watercolor brush because you want to hold on to as much liquid as possible. So there's another little fun fact, little art tip for you right there. So here is my Winsor Cotton brush. This is round 3. We're going to dip this in real quick and see how this looks. I really like the coverage. It's really nice. Acrylic inks always have such good coverage. I love how they look. You can really play with them. Again, I'm really feeling how thick this ink is. Like, it is a thick ink. I want to know with the colors how well the coverage is, like how transparent it is. I do have another Golden High Flow. I actually have 2. I have a red and I have a fluorescent green. We're not going to use those in this piece because the piece I have in mind does not involve those colors, but I am curious to see like how transparent those colors are because the strength of acrylics are their layering and their incredible coverage. Like, they have an incredible opacity that as someone who uses a lot of watercolor and a lot of alcohol markers, you just don't get. You can get it with gouache and you can get it with oils. Well, it also depends on how much oils you mix in, and there are transparent mediums for acrylics, but you know what I mean. Acrylics, they are just incredible with just putting it down and they cover, and this feels really nice. I feel like I have a lot of control over it. I feel like I'm able to really cover an area and work detail. Really like the feel of this. This is already something super fun. Now, I'm not going to do a waterproof test on this, and I'm also not going to do an alcohol marker test. As mentioned before, acrylic inks are not alcohol marker proof, and they are what I would classify as water resistant just because they are prone to chippage, being a thicker ink by nature. This one probably more so because it feels thicker than most other acrylic inks that I have tried. Really like this. I am a fan of this. So we're gonna actually have to now put this to the ultimate test to see if this is going to be good for some comic art style illustrations. So you know what that means. It's time to go over what we're going to be illustrating today. So for today's illustration, it is actually not of any of our superheroes, but instead one of our villains, that being Lust. And I'm very excited to illustrate this drawing. I did pencil this about 2 years ago, so I will admit it's not up to my current standard when it comes to my current illustration style and anatomy. I've been recently going through my pile of drawings, and I feel like we should really focus on getting some of those older pencils inked so that we can focus on some of the newer stuff. I don't want to be 3 years down the road still inking pencils from like 5 years ago. So we're just going to get a lot of those older pencils out. Some of them still have some merit to them, and some of them are just fun compositions that I think are really cool. And I really think this will be a nice, good test for the Golden High Flows. So let's go ahead and roll that super time lapse. So when it came to inking this piece, I definitely had fun, but I was also a little frustrated. And I want to say right off the bat, I think Golden High Flows are an amazing, super high quality product. I think they are phenomenal, but I think I'm using them in a way that they're not intended. Doing some more research, a lot of the advertising for these show that it's for calligraphy work, and it's showing more writing than drawing. Yes, it advertises that you can use it in a dip pen, but I don't think the company meant for you to use it this way. And the reason is because it's quite a bit thicker than any acrylic ink I've ever used, and that created a major flow issue. issue. Yes, this paint was a joy to use with my brush. I absolutely love how it looked, and it is definitely the highest quality acrylic paint I've ever used. And if I was to bring out my airbrush, it would perform phenomenally well, and it would fill up your paint pens perfectly. It's just because it's quite a bit thicker, it has a flow issue with dip pens. I couldn't use my quill nib at all, and I didn't use that at all in this illustration, and you could tell because there's no crosshatch. You know me, absolutely love crosshatching. That's kind of a big shocker right there, but the fact that I really struggle to do any detail work with my normal dip pen does kind of suck and does hurt this project a little bit in my opinion. I got beautiful smooth lines with my dip pen, yes, but they were long lines. When it came to shorter detail lines, a lot of railroading, a lot of chipping, a lot of edging, and with it being an acrylic base, you're going to have the acrylic issues of they're not the most mixed media friendly. You can't use them with alcohol markers. They are water resistant, but you have a chipping issue, and they're going to dry more gloss and satin than they are matte. I can't hold those things solely against this product. Here's why. For one, all those things that I mentioned, I can put onto FW in Amsterdam. They are acrylic inks. That is what you get with an acrylic product. You can't fault it for having these normal limitations that acrylics have, and there are workarounds around it anyway, so I'm not going to hold it against High Flow. I don't think it's right for me to hold those issues with my dip pen as highly as I would against FW or any other acrylic ink than I am with Golden, and here's why. Golden does not advertise this as an acrylic ink. It is a acrylic high flow. It is a really liquid acrylic paint that can work in your dip pen, and I love that's how they advertise this product because that's what this is. It is a super liquid acrylic paint that can work in a dip pen. This is not an acrylic ink. Yes, I can use it in my dip pen, but I'm using this in a way that no one at Golden probably thought that someone would use. I don't think anyone from that company genuinely thought someone was crazy enough to do a comic style illustration using a dip pen with their product. I really like this. I really like Golden High Flows. I think they're an incredibly high quality paint. They are the highest quality acrylic paint I've ever used. And acrylics are my weaknesses, yes, but overall, I have the understanding to know that I am not using it the way that this was intended. I think this is a great overall acrylic paint that you can use with your acrylic inks in very specific cases. I think if you're just using acrylics overall, this is a great tool to have. I think if you ink with acrylic inks, this is a great tool to have. And if you just do mixed media art like I do, this is a great tool to have. This is not something I would get to just create artwork. This is something, if I was to pick one ink to use forever, it would be Zig's Cartoonist ink or Winsor & Newton. This would not be it. I really like it. I think it has a lot of great merit to it. I think it's a really good product. And because of that, I am going to be very lenient on the final decision of the rating because I have to realize I am not using this in the way that it's intended. I could also fix this issue by adding my Golden High Flow medium. Yes, they do make a medium that you can mix into your normal paint to make them thinner, and I could add it to this. I could make this even thinner and get rid of that issue, but that would be altering the product, and I wanted to test it just straight bottle, so I wanted to make that clear. I could fix this issue. I'm going to be very lenient on my overall score of this product because I still think it is an amazing product that I'm just not using the way it was intended. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the piece in all its finished glory. And guys, I really like how this piece came out. The pencils may be 2 years old and the composition may not be perfect. The anatomy is a little off. It's not up to my normal standards, but I still really like how this piece came out. I think it's a fun piece that looks really good, and I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. Your guys' critiques really help me become not only a better content creator, but a better artist. And while you're down there, you can check out the first link in the description down below to my ArtStation account, where you can not only purchase just $1 digital downloads of most of my artwork for backgrounds, coloring pages, and stickers, but you can also now purchase posters of my artwork. But as little as $18 plus shipping, depending on the size and material you purchase them at, you can get a high quality poster of my artwork. And if you do purchase it, please feel free to tag me on social media. I would love to see it. It's BATTLEBRAWLERproductions on Twitter and Instagram. Now, this piece will not be available as a poster, but it will be available as a $1 digital download in case you want to color it or have it as a desktop background for your phone and or laptop. Either way, let's go ahead and put the piece to the side and focus on the High Flow because I have some really strong opinions on these. As I mentioned in the time-lapse footage, I really like Golden High Flow. I think this is a phenomenal acrylic paint and not an acrylic ink. And that's really kind of been the discussion around it and really what a lot of people think of this paint itself. It is an acrylic ink adjacent paint. It's super, super close, but the fact that it's just that little bit thicker makes it very difficult to use in a dip pen. And while yes, it does advertise it works in a dip pen, I fully admit I'm using it in a way that was not intended. It does not say Golden Acrylic Ink. It says Golden High High Flow Acrylic. And I think that's the important part, is that this product is letting you know, hey, I'm very similar to an acrylic ink, but I'm not an acrylic ink. And if you were to use this in conjunction with acrylic inks or other acrylics to do really amazing stuff, I think it's going to be wonderful. This is definitely the highest quality acrylic paint I have ever used. I really do like this product. And while I admit I am not using it for its intended use, it still performed decently. It just has a few limitations to it that can be fixed. I can add a high flow medium to make it even more liquidy. In fact, I'm probably going to do that after this video, but I couldn't do that for the video because I really want to test what it was as is. And while I do have those issues, and I do think it falls short in the area of a dip pen, and part of that is my importance of the dip pen. I do place a lot of importance on that tool, and that's just me. Some people don't at all. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 on my scale. I think it's absolutely great, super high quality, has a couple issues here and there, but if you use acrylic paints, if you use acrylic inks, if you are a mixed media artist, this is a must-have tool in your tool belt, especially for all of the amazing colors. And that's another thing about Golden, is they have an insanely beautiful and immense color selection. As of the time of recording this video, these are all the colors they have just with Golden High Flow. That is an insane amount. But that's my opinion, and I'd love to hear your guys' comment section down below. So please tell me what you guys think of the acrylic paint itself, of the illustration. Remember, you can purchase posters of my artwork in the comment section down below. You can also leave a like, it really does help the channel, and subscribe for more art and animation-based content. Remember, I'm J.Rod at BLACKEST. I draw with power in my own soul.